County Board of Supervisors to order, please. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing. That will be followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we'll have the reading of the notice, please.
The adjourned organizational meeting of the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, composed of 38 members, will convene at the Marathon County Courthouse Assembly Room, 500 Forest Street, Wausau, on Tuesday, June 23rd at 7 p.m., and the agenda was duly signed and posted.
Thank you. I would like to request everyone please silence their cell phones or put them on vibrate, and also all guests, and please as to not to interrupt the meeting. And we will move on to roll call, and I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Beestrom.
Here.
Boots.
Here.
Book. Butke.
Here.
Seiler.
Here.
Conway.
Here.
Dickinson.
Here.
Draybeck. Here. Pfeifferich. Fisher.
Here.
Gaber.
Here.
Gibbs.
Here.
Gonnering. Guild.
Here.
Gums.
Here.
Harris.
Here.
Jacobson. Johnson. Krause. Lamont.
Here.
Longenhan.
Here.
Leahy.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Mask.
Here.
McEwen.
Here.
Oberbeck.
Here.
Opal. Robinson.
Here.
Rosenberg. Schley. Seefelt.
Here.
Soibert.
Here.
Stark.
Here.
Van Cray.
Here.
Vol. Wagner.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
Gonnering. Opal. Schley. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to acknowledge and welcome all of the visitors that we have here, including the viewing audience. And so we will move on to presentations and reports. In your packet, I wanted to provide a little bit of an update. The census is still going on, obviously, with the COVID. There was a delay in the start of the actual in-person census taking to all of the individuals and that have not responded. But as in comparison to the state, Marathon County is doing very well. We're at 75.4% in comparison to 68.5% for the state average. There's several municipalities have actually done extremely well. Edgar's at 76%, Hatley at almost 80%, Cronenwitter at 80%, Rothschild at 80%, and there's a few municipalities that are lagging behind. The Village of Stratford at 67, Elderon at 55%, Franzen at 65, and Town of Green Valley at 62. One of the things I would like to try to impress upon all of the supervisors, if you have discussions with some of your constituents, encourage them to fill out the survey, the census. It is very critical in not only how the federal funding gets allocated moving forward on multiple programs over the next 10 years, along with the allocation for congressional districts for the state. And it also has an impact on Marathon County supervisory districts when we go through the redistricting. So that was just a brief update I wanted to provide to all of the supervisors to encourage all their constituents who haven't filled out the census that they should. It's very simple. If they can go online, they can easily fill it out. If they haven't and they still haven't responded, they will be visited by in-person census takers, and additional information will be gathered that way. So we will move on to item C, the consent agenda, item C8 through item C12B1. What is the board's pleasure? Motion by Vice Chair McEwen. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Drabek. Any discussion on the consent agenda items C8 through item C12B1? All right, seeing none, we will proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda items C8 through item C12B1 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And we will move on to proclamations. Under item D13, June Dairy Month. Item D13, I'd ask the clerk to read the proclamation, please.
Whereas Marathon County is the largest county in the state of Wisconsin with an area of 1,584 square miles and 135,341 residents. It has a wide variety of industrial plants which manufacture more than 50 different products, including dairy products ranked as one of the most important. And whereas Marathon County is one of the leading dairy producing counties in the state of Wisconsin and the nation, currently the third in milk production in Wisconsin. And whereas farmers in Marathon County are promoters of the family farm and provide a good sense of dedication and work ethic for the youth of our county. And whereas, according to census and other statistical data analyzed by UW Extension, the dairy industry is responsible for 7,203 jobs in Marathon County. It is the largest part of county agriculture, contributing a total of $2.03 billion to the local economy annually. Therefore, be it resolved that the Marathon County Board of Supervisors salute the dairy farmers and the dairy industry by declaring June 2020 Dairy Month in Marathon County.
Yeah, what is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Seiler moves to approve.
Supervisor Seiler is recognized with a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by
Supervisor Fisher to second.
Supervisor, I apologize, Supervisor Jacobson, I caught his second first. And so is there any discussion on the motion to approve the proclamation June is Dairy Month? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Yi Lang, Supervisor Zhang. I just have a question for you. Is there any way we can make it so that instead of us having to bring it back every year, it could be a continuous resolution?
I will look to Corp Counsel.
Corporate counsel will say he doesn't know, I'll look into it. I think we have looked into that. I'll look into it. It does seem to me that I remember that the idea of the proclamation is to renew it. And I don't know that there's a prohibition against doing that, but I'll definitely get you a more definite answer on that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion of the proclamation June is Dairy Month, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. And we will move on to item D, 14, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
Whereas our population lives longer and as our demographics shift, noting that every day 10,000 persons turn 65 in the U.S., which will continue for the next 20 years, we are presented with an opportunity and need to think about our collective needs and future as a nation. And abuse and neglect of older adults is an ever-increasing problem in today's society that crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. And whereas combating the abuse of older people will help improve their quality of life in our communities and will allow older persons to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of Marathon County. And whereas in 2006, the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action, proclaimed a day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. And whereas 2020 marks the 15th annual World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, its recognition will promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older adults. And whereas we are all responsible for building safer communities for our older adults and all citizens, and increasing awareness will assist in the prevention of elder abuse. Therefore, I, Kurt Gibbs, Chairman of the Board of Marathon County, do hereby proclaim June 15th, 2020 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Marathon County, and encourage all of our communities to recognize and celebrate older adults and their ongoing contributions to the success and vitality of our country.
Okay.
Motion by Wagner.
So, go ahead.
Motion by Wagner.
Motion by Supervisor Wagner to approve the proclamation of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, second by Supervisor Rosenberg. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the proclamation World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. And we'll move on to, we have an additional call-in user. Could you please identify yourself if you're a county board member?
Supervisor Schley.
Supervisor Schley is reckoned. Thank you, Supervisor Schley. Moving on to appointments, item E15, Wisconsin Counties Utility Tax Association. I would ask the clerk to read the appointment. It was not on the agenda last Thursday.
Appointing Supervisor Tom Rosenberg to the Wisconsin Counties Utilities Tax Association for a 2-year term to coincide with the County Board Supervisor term of office expiring in April 2022.
Okay, what is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Drabek. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Krause. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item E16, Marathon County Broadband Task Force.
Appointing County Board Supervisor John Robinson as chair, County Board Supervisor Sarah Gild as vice chair, County Board Supervisor Jacob Longenhahn, County Board Supervisor Sandy Seiler, Kent Olson, Merrill, Wisconsin. Katrina Becker, Athens, Wisconsin. Eric Budleski, Hatley, Wisconsin. And Emmett McBride, Rothschild, Wisconsin. To the Marathon County Broadband Task Force for 2-year terms to coincide with the Marathon County Board terms of office, expiring at the organizational meeting in April 2022.
We'll have a discussion first. I would invite Corp Counsel to,
Mr. Chair, this is kind of a technicality, but I believe later in the agenda, the board is actually going to vote to create the task force. So you might want to do the appointments after the vote is taken to actually create the task force.
and that's what I was just going to, I was wondering. All right, if there's no objection, I will take item F17A, approval of the Broadband Task Force Charter, ordinance 14-20 now, and then we will revisit the appointment to the Broadband Task Force. What is your pleasure? Supervisor Rosenberg? Motion by Supervisor Rosenberg, and who was the second? Supervisor Johnson was the second. Any discussion on the item F17A, approval of the Broadband Task Force Charter, ordinance 14-20? Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Gums is recognized.
Mr. Chair, 2 concerns. The task force should contact local town chairman, and they would be able to be brought up. The town chairman, I think, could bring this task force up to speed of what's going on out in the country, for one thing, because there is a Frontier and TDS are working out in the country. But the other thing I was wondering, will the task force handle problems people are having with the regular companies now, with slow service with the regular phone companies?
No, I think the task force is, go ahead, Supervisor Gums.
Oh, that's it.
Okay, the task force is tasked with what is spelled out in the charter of the task force. But I do take your comments to heart, and I will relay those to the chairman. The chairman of the task force, Supervisor Robinson, is on, and he's requested to speak to your points. Supervisor Robinson.
Thank you, Chairman Gibbs. The purpose is to really look at trying to get broadband and hopefully enhancements in cellular services to the rural parts of the county. We will be probably touching on the areas of service problems as it relates to Frontier and others where there's a lack of viable alternatives. And when we try to define the role of the county going forward, we know that Frontier is not supporting its lines, and that it's creating service and access to public safety services issues for those residents. We will encourage, and you should encourage, citizens that have concerns over their current delivery system to contact the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection and the Federal Communication FCC with those complaints, so that they've got those recorded. But we'll make that information available and steer those people to those agencies for handling of those complaints.
Okay, any
Mr.
other
Chair?
go ahead. Supervisor
Thank you,
Gums
Mr.
is
Chair.
recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. TDS is also 3 weeks behind in their service work out here, so they are no better than Frontier right now. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Supervisor Krause is recognized. You need to use a microphone.
I had, this is Supervisor Krause, thank you. I had read that Frontier was going bankrupt, and I don't know if it was because of some lawsuits, because of, I think it was because I had read that they were not providing adequate service in many areas, and there were some lawsuits against them, and that they were going bankrupt. And I had read this maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So I was just wondering about that, if anybody else knew anything about that. Thank you.
There was a filing, a reorganization by the company, and as far as where that sits, I do not know, but I do know that there was a filing of a reorganization. Supervisor Robinson took his hand
On
down.
on that question, we've been in contact with Frontier, and they have gone through that reorganization. Since some of the initial complaints, they brought in additional people to provide service and enhance the delivery, although we're hearing mixed messages on that. But we have been in contact with their government relations folks, Scott Bolger out of the cities, and are working with them on service.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, the motion is to approve the Broadband Task Force Charter, Ordinance 14-20. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will go back to item E16, and that is to appoint the members of the Broadband Task Force that you heard earlier. And I will now accept a motion from the board. Is it?
Move to approve, Stark.
Motion by Supervisor Stark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Fisher. Is there any discussion on the appointment of the members of the Marathon County Broadband Task Force?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Lowe.
Supervisor Lowe is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wanting to know, can you provide us some a bit of information about the 4 other task force members that are in this committee? Just a little bit of information about what their interest or expertise is in broadband.
I would invite the task force chair. He and myself had multiple discussions over the membership, but I would invite Supervisor Robinson.
All right, Emmett McBride is the head of IT for the DC Everest School District. And they've done a lot with trying to deal with distance-based learning. Katrina Becker is a organic farmer in the Athens area. She was an instigator with the Farmers Union meeting where they invited a number of supervisors to talk about broadband last year. Eric Budlusky is a citizen who's also a small business owner who has been very involved in broadband issues and has been pushing for expansion on the eastern side of the county. And Kent Olson is the owner of Olson Tire, but he's the former past chair of the Governor's Council on Workforce Development, and he has a very real interest in trying to work on broadband expansion.
And then we
Thank
have,
you.
and then we also have one additional individual that will be bringing name forward next month. And that individual has ties to the medical community and the interest in providing telemedicine to the Marathon County. So we did not have a confirmation from that individual yet, and so that name did not appear tonight. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to approve the membership of the Marathon County Broadband Task Force. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the Marathon County Broadband Task Force membership signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. And we will move on to ordinances. Under item F, F17, amend the General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County, Chapter 11.02, Animal Waste Management Ordinance Code, Ordinance 0-9-20. What is the board's pleasure?
Supervisor Butke, move to approve.
Supervisor Butke with the motion. Is there a second?
Supervisor Seifelt?
Supervisor Seifelt with the second. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the motion of amending the General Code of Ordinances for Marathon County, Chapter 11.02, Animal Waste Management Ordinance Code, Ordinance 0-9-20, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carried. Was the last person that made the motion or said aye, was it late or were you opposed to the ordinance?
Opposed.
Opposed. The motion is carried, but it was not unanimous. Thank you. And we will move on to resolutions. Human Resources, Finance and Property Committee, item G18, approving the purchase of real estate located at 530 Jackson Street, Wausau, Wisconsin, 54403, Resolution 42-20. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for adoption.
And Supervisor Johnson, was that your motion? Supervisor Johnson with the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair McEwen. Any discussion on the resolution 42-20? This does require a 2/3 majority vote. This is also a budget transfer item. Any discussion? So there will be a roll call vote. Supervisor Krause.
Thank you. I have a question. I noticed that it was both for purchase and then a lease situation. And I was wondering if the owners now, if it is purchased by the county, if the owners are going to remain there for 3 years and lease it, or just exactly what the situation is there. Thank you.
The current situation is there's an approved lease that's part that the current owners will be leasing the property, and it is a 3-year lease. The terms are 3 years, but there is an exit clause in the lease that allows them to get out with a notice. Any discussion? Because this is a 2/3 majority vote, I'll have the clerk read the roll.
Beestrom,
Yes.
Boots,
Yes.
Book, Butke,
Aye.
Christensen, Seiler,
Aye.
Conway,
Aye.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Draybeck, Pfeifferich, Fisher,
Aye.
Gaber,
Aye.
Gibbs,
Aye.
Gonnering, Guild,
Aye.
Gums,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Jacobson, Johnson, Krause, Lamont,
Aye.
Longenhan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lowe,
Aye.
Mask,
Yes.
McEwen,
Aye.
Oberbeck,
Aye.
Opal, Robinson,
Aye.
Rosenberg, Schley,
Aye.
Seefelt,
Aye.
Soibert,
Yes.
Van Cray,
Aye.
Stark,
Aye.
Vole, Wagner,
Aye.
Zhang,
Aye.
Gonnering, Opal.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the motion is passed. The motion was unanimous for those that were present. Moving on to item G, 19, approved 2020 budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 43-20. This also will require a 2/3 majority vote. What is your pleasure? Motion by Supervisor Drabek. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Rosenberg. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote on the approval of the 2020 department budget transfers for Marathon County Department of Appropriations, Resolution 43-20. I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Beestrom,
Yes.
Boots, Book, Butke,
Aye.
Christensen, Seiler,
Aye.
Conway,
Aye.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Drabek, Pfeifrick, Fisher,
Aye.
Gaber,
Aye.
Gibbs,
Aye.
Gonnering, Guild,
Aye.
Gums,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Jacobson, Johnson, Krause, Lamont,
Yes.
Longenhan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
McEwen, Oberbeck,
Aye.
Opal,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Rosenberg, Schley,
Aye.
Seefelt,
Yes.
Soibert,
Yes.
Stark,
Yes.
Van Cray,
Aye.
Vole, Wagner,
Aye.
Zhang.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the motion is carried. Thank you. And we will move on to item G20, to amend the 2018 CIP Library Roof Project and transfer funding from the from the CIP fund. And I will have the Chair of Finance explain what Finance Committee's action took place earlier this afternoon and was part of, and now is part of your packet on that agenda item. So Supervisor Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Earlier today, we approved a resolution calling for the funding for a portion of the library repairs out of the 2021 Capital Improvement Program Fund. The project has been in the works or talked about for several years. We found that the damage at the library roof was greater than expected, including the need for sealing some of the bricks to prevent leaking in the futures. And the thought was that we would do it right, which resulted in the bids coming in over budget. And the proposal before us today earmarks, we've got money out of previous capital improvement plan years, 2018, 2019. We're taking money from the library capital fund, but we still have a shortage. And that will be made up out of a commitment from the 2021 capital improvement plan. So we're making this a priority. Most of the work will be done this year. However, some of the work will be done in 2021. So this resolution allows us to pay for the work that will be done this year out of current dollars with transfers, but commits us to spending money in next year's capital improvement plan in the tune of $526,764 for the project. So it rather than take it out of contingency and other things and leave us short on contingency, we felt this was the best approach. Are there any questions?
Before we get to questions, is there a motion on the floor? Is there, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Seiler moves to approve.
Supervisor Seiler with a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Supervisor Van Cray seconds.
Supervisor Van Cray with a second. Now, any discussion on the plan and the proposal to use and amend the 2018 CIP, use funds out of closed out projects from there, and then also make the 2021 project the number one project to be funded with CIP. We have Supervisor Gums is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I'd like a little explanation. What went wrong here? Is it poor workmanship, poor product, poor design?
I would say that several things. The project kept getting put off. There was some issues that were identified probably as long as I've been on the board with the roof. And so there was always patches, fixes, and then it was let go, and then all of a sudden, when they finally delved into it, they found all of these additional issues and items that were contributing to the problem, and also created additional damage over the years that hadn't been addressed. So the project just kept growing until we wanted to fix it right and fix it once and final. Any other discussion? Any other? Any other discussion? Again, this is a 2/3 majority vote requirement. Again, the resolution G20, amend the 2018 CIP library roof project and transfer funds from from the library funds, and make 520-some thousand the roof project for the number one project for 2021 in CIP. Resolution 44-20. The motion is to approve. I would ask the clerk call the roll, please.
Beestrom,
Yes.
Boots,
Aye.
Book, Butke,
Aye.
Seiler,
Aye.
Conway,
Aye.
Dickinson,
Yes.
Drabeck, Pfeifrick,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Gaber,
Aye.
Gibbs,
Aye.
Gonnering, Guild,
Aye.
Gums,
Aye.
Harris,
Aye.
Jacobson, Johnson, Krause, Lamont,
Yes.
Longenhan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
Lowe, Mask,
Yes.
Mask,
Yes.
McEwen,
Yes.
Oberbeck,
Aye.
Opal,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Rosenberg, Schley,
Aye.
Seefelt,
Aye.
Soibert,
Aye.
Stark,
Aye.
Van Cray,
Aye.
Vole, Wagner,
Aye.
Zhang.
Aye.
Thank you.
And the motion is carried, and it is unanimous for those who voted. Moving on to miscellaneous business, announcements and/or requests. Supervisors present from infrastructure, we have signatures, and also a reminder that the Marathon County Board does have a sunshine fund that we contribute to voluntarily, and that is used occasionally in situations when we have illnesses or deaths in the family of members of the board, and the clerk sends out various things. So if you're in the clerk's office and you haven't and you choose to contribute to the Sunshine Fund, I would encourage you to do that. Any other announcements and/or requests? Okay, the next meeting will be July 23rd, 2020. That will be the educational meeting, and the business meeting will be July 28th, both to be held at 7 o'clock. And I will take the infamous motion H22, motion to adjourn by Vice Chair McEwen, seconded by Supervisor Drabeck. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your willingness to participate via electronically, and we are getting much better at it.